apologize for that delay. Julie saved me though. Let's see. First off, we have Sam. Do we have any visitors that signed up?
I don't think we had visitors, but we do have some guests.
Okay.
It'll be Elise Rosenberg, Director of BTS Technology Services. Shauna Graver should be joining us also, as should Jennifer Gardner, also from BTS, to talk about how the new BTS structure following the realignment how it will support FPDR going forward with that. So they will have their session here a little bit later.
Great. Okay. Well, welcome. These meetings are exciting. Number one is going to be approval of minutes from May 26th of 2026. Any comments, errors found, edits needed before we move to adopt those? Hearing none, I guess I'll make a motion to approve the May 26, 2026 minutes.
I'll second the motion.
Great.
Okay, can you hear me? Okay, when I call your name, please vote on the approval of the minutes. Chair Hughes?
Yes.
Trustee Laws?
Yes.
Trustee McLeod?
Yes.
And Trustee Kramer?
Yes.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Okay, action items. Number one, resolution 566, the outside general counsel contract authorization.
As you know from our last meeting, we had Lauren Dunhauer, who was formerly of Ogletree Deacons and was providing the outside counsel for FPDR. And Lauren left Ogletree Deacons and went to Trucker Haas. So we went ahead and terminated the Ogletree Deacons contract and have entered negotiations with Trucker Haas to allow, because Lauren works for them, to have a contract where they can provide the outside counsel assistance. So we are negotiating that, and it's the city attorney's office is doing the negotiation with it, and we're nearly done. And there's just a few technical things done. And then Tom, you had brought up a couple issues here. One is basically, if I may oversimplify it, is you were looking to have us make sure there's a termination clause on the contract, just in case
other hand, not really, because we do expect positive arbitrage this year. So we actually want to hold on to the money for as long as we can, because we think we're going to make more money in the city investment pool. So we actually arranged to hold on to that money for the entire fiscal year, even though we only need it until January, because we are legally allowed to do that.
One follow-up question on that. I know I believe if I recall last May, you were talking about it was like a rate difference that like 3.1% was the private rate.
Yeah.
What was the rate that we ended up getting
Yeah,
on that?
let me pull it up. There was a lot of drama over that because we entered into a rate lock agreement that we thought we were going to have to break the rate lock agreement, but we didn't wind up having to. So let me pull that up. It shouldn't take me long. Let's see, here's the borrowing note. Yeah, we did end up at a little bit higher of a rate. We ended up at a TIC, a true interest cost of 3.42%.
3.4.
But we also expect higher returns in the city investment pool now. I mean, interest rates just moved a bit in the last couple of months.
What is the interest rate pool, like 3.8, 3.9, something like that?
I think, again, I have to pull it up. I want to say 3.75, but I'd have to pull that up again. Grab that. Forecast. 3.8. Nope, you were right. 3.8% in the city investment pool.
Wow. Thank you.
These are all projections. I mean, we know the interest rate we're going to pay on the TANs, but it's just a projection on the city investment pool side. Yes. Trustee McLeod? Oh, sorry.
As a new trustee, you said in May we'd be about 1% over and we're 1% under, and then you said that the disability would be a little. What you said would happen was exactly what happened, so that was useful for me to see. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. It's not always that way, but sadly. But I will say, obviously my goal is to make it that way most of the time. Trustee McLeod.
Yeah, and, you know, this is the end of year report, so we might as well get all of our questions out here. Can we go back to the personnel line just for a minute, and you explain reasons why that was under budget, which makes sense. I just wanted to check the BTS. You mentioned there's a vacancy that wasn't filled, and a couple of other minor things in terms of end of the year pay grades and things. Is a BTS employee, didn't they transfer at some point mid-year? And is the cost for that still being charged back and reflected in this?
Excellent question. So they did not transfer mid-year. So the full expenses for our business system analyst 3 are in what you see here. In fact, that person hasn't transferred yet, even now. And I'm sure Elise is going to come on and talk a bit more about that in a bit. But I believe that transfer is happening on August 3rd now. So in our budget for the current fiscal year that we're now in, 26-27, we've removed expenses for that from our personnel budget for that position, salary and benefits. What is truly bizarre, but this is how the city budget office wanted to do it now, is that they have not yet put in the charges that will be charged back to us in internal materials and services. So that'll just be like through an interagency agreement with BTS. They have not loaded that side. They just pulled the personnel out, and, you know, we kept saying to them and checking in with other bureaus, shouldn't we have loaded this other side? Because now it looks like we're going to spend less than we actually are next year. And we can't just go in and load it because of the rules around interagency budgets having to match. So I am assuming that will be taken care of in the fall budget adjustment, which will happen in September or October. And then we'll get that loaded. I mean, the bottom line is I'm sure we're going to pay more, right? Because our BSA is going to make the same amount of money that she was making before, and we're probably going to have to pay some kind of overhead rate to BTS. But Elise will probably know more about that.
Okay.
But I don't have the actual charges yet.
Okay, and that answers the question about why there wasn't more than there wasn't any impact on this because she was here all the way through. Okay, thanks.
No impact on the 25-26 budget or spending.
And Stacey, I'm pretty sure that Elise has agreed that it'll probably be somewhere late September, more like October, before they get the IA rates out.
Oh, okay.
So all the charges between now and then, we've been hammering Elise that she's unable to backdate it, charge you back. So you get work for free for a little bit.
I was
Oh.
gonna suggest that. And that's a great idea.
We'll
So-
see. We'll see if Elise, since she's here, like, we'll see if she could see if you can get her to agree to that. I'll leave that to you guys.
Don't turn your microphone on. I'm kidding. No, you'll be charged for it. So
Yes. I'm like, what are the things that are inevitable in life, like death and war? I don't know, but I also feel like interagency charges are inevitable too. Like you can't get out of them. I should just mention while we're talking about budget that I will be asking the board to amend the budget at our September meeting. I kind of alluded to this in May that there were, I think, significant enough changes that had to be made to sync up. And one of those is the elimination of the BSA3 position or the transfer to BTS. But council is still making changes to the budget as, post-adoption amendments. We just had one last week or maybe the week before. So I needed for all of that to settle down before I came back to the board and asked you to formally amend our budget. So just a quick, I'll slide in that update there. Any other questions? Okay, thanks guys.
thanks, Stacy. Okay, it looks like we're going to technology support. Elise, is that you? I hear you have a. Yep, there we go. It's all yours.
All right, thanks, folks, and what an interesting introduction into the board and into the discussion. Thanks so much for having me. For the record, I'm Elise Rosenberg. I'm the Chief Information Officer and the Director of the Bureau of Technology Services. And with me today is Shauna Graber. Shauna is our Shared Services Manager. So in her role, she will be managing the newly created embedded teams, and we'll talk a little bit more about what that means overall and what that means for FPDR. We've got a few slides to share, welcome questions along the way, and let's go ahead and get started. Julie, I think you're sharing, really appreciate that. If you could go to the next slide. Okay, look at that, it's an agenda. So again, quick intro to the structure that and the transition plan, some road mapping and support more specifically to this bureau and this important function, and then contacts should you have questions or want to reach out. Let's go to the next slide. Okay. So just a little bit of context. The city is reorganizing at a broader level than just the impacts we're talking about today. So several functions across the city, technology being one of them, have reorganized effective so actually 2 years ago now, 24-25, in terms of the central communications functions around the city. And when we say communications in this context, we mean things like communicating within the city footprint, communicating out to residents, as opposed to, say, 911 or radio type communications that are a little more specific to public safety. This year, human resources, procurement, and technology underwent a number of organizational changes. And then there's work in flight as well for the functions of engagement and equity. And then future realignment plan for finance. So this is a citywide and a broader set of changes than just technology. And they're really designed to help the city's internal structure mirror what the voters told the city they wanted in terms of a more aligned governance structure under a city administrator and executive mayor. And when there was an initial consultant engagement with a couple hundred folks across the city that work with these central functions, here are some of the problems they told us we should try to solve. So they wanted us to solve for things like fragmented or unclear roles and expectations, a lack of service levels or standards, or a variety of standards, which is sort of antithetical to the construct of standards, for manual processes, for limited alignment, and for multi-level or slow approvals. And so I wanted to just provide a little bit of context and background. I think to the frustration of many, and I'll say myself included, this work was already in flight when the severity of the city's financial constraints became clear, and it became overlaid with an expectation of cutting the budget while we also realigned the budget. And so we were given some pretty challenging budget targets. And the target technology was given, for example, was try to find 20% savings across the technology footprint in the city. Where we ended up landing in terms of the budget was a little closer to the 12-13%. But we still had to reduce about $13 million. About half of that is coming from tools and from better contracting and rates, and about half of that is coming from positions. That does not directly implicate that doesn't directly include the BSA that's coming from FPDR into the core or into BTS, but just having that context I thought was important for you to hear that this is part of a much broader picture. Go to the next slide, please. We're going to focus again into technology. And so if you move right on to the next one, I want to show you at a very high level some high-level services that, and the way we're sort of conceptualizing them in the construct of a core set of services that support citywide, that support technology at an enterprise level, and then more specific services that are directed at a service area and that feel like they would be much more local and impactful to the businesses that you're in as opposed to a citywide standard. So we're introducing a little bit more of a matrix organization here, where there's an embedded team that might do mapping, for example, or data analytics or application support for city operations and CFO, so for a more specific set of applications or data sets, but they're following standards and using standard tools that are managed at the enterprise level. So core on the left, embedded in the middle, and then there are some functions that in the city that we just did not include in this round of reorganization. SCADA is, for example, refers to things like the system that controls the way the drinking water flows or the way the traffic lights work. And that's just a very different security landscape, very different architectural landscape. So while you see some of the some similar words between core and embedded, the intention is to have citywide security and risk compliance, to have citywide standards and citywide tools managed in a core team, and then have some of those more localized services like the specific maps you might need, or like the specific data sets, or particular tools like the FPDR database managed much closer to the service area and bureau level. So if you move to the next slide, Shauna is going to take over and talk a little bit more specifically about the embedded team. You know, I guess, I'm sorry, Julie, if you could go back to that slide before. One of the things I think it's important for this group to hear are some of the things that aren't changing. So FPDR's location is one of 250 BTS supports with network and telephony and AV. That's not changing. We still support Microsoft. We still support backend databases. We still provide security services. So a lot of the things that Sam or your prior BSA, Julie, needed in order to do their work, we're still providing in the same way. So I want you to hear that about 80% of our time in the Bureau of Technology Services is running and maintaining and keeping the lights on and secure for both the city as a whole and for specific applications, and that is not changing. So if you go to the next slide again, sorry about that, Julie, thank you. I'll hand it over to Shauna to talk a little bit more about this embedded concept.
Yeah, and thanks, Elise, for taking that step back because I think it was really important to stress that. So, as Elise said, my name is Shauna Graber. I'll be the Technology Shared Services Manager for all of the embedded services teams. So, again, those are the teams that are leading each of the service area technology teams. Of course, we're focusing today on the city operations, CFO, technology support team. Each of these service area teams have commonalities and that they each have these three main things that we focused in on. So product and program support, that's the team that Sam Clark is moving into. That's the team that coordinates and facilitates all of the technology projects and products within the service area. So they'll be doing that primary support, continuing to do that important work that she's doing today to make sure that they're working with stakeholders and other team members across BTS and across the city to support the enterprise applications and work that are needed for the service area and for FPDR. We also have a data services team inside every service area. They're available to do modeling, GIS mapping, analysis, reporting, build dashboards, that sort of work that is requested from the different bureaus within the service area. And when they have overflow, they have, again, that group in the core, our enterprise geospatial and data services. They provide the governance, the foundation, and the tools and extra support and service. We have people that will do service area inventory. So they'll help us keep track of computers and phones and manage lifecycle replacements, deal with software, renewals and all of that. Make sure we're not paying for licenses. We don't need all of that. And also embedded technology support to provide resolution of quick tech issues that are specific to just your area, just things that are in the service area. And then some of the service areas have specialty teams because they're needed, like community and economic development has a digital services team that supports the permitting system, for example. So those are some of the things that you can expect from this team. Let's go to the next slide. I want to dig in specifically for what you can expect from this team. Now, Jennifer Gardner wasn't able to join us today, but you're going to get to know Jenny more. She's your amazing new technology manager for this COSA team that we're bringing here. This is the team that Sam will be on. She's already dug in, watched a board meeting, read all about FPDR and done everything she can to start to get to understand your organization. This is her contact information. She's on vacation this week, but she will be managing the new city operations service area team. Our data services team that we're building will report directly to Jenny. It's a small but mighty team. They're really experienced people coming from across the organization. And initially they're reporting to her because Jenny has a really strong data skill set and background in this area. And so she will be able to lead them directly. If the team grows, we'll address that leadership. Product and program management team, Amy Davis and her fleet technology team is coming over and will be leading this team. It's a mix of BSAs and a system analyst. And this is where Sam Clark is going, along with her FPDR technology portfolio. One of the really great things about Sam is that as she documented all the work that she's got in progress, I think we got the most documentation from her. It's very thorough, very acquainted with all of the specific request numbers and everything that she's working on. And Jenny and Amy and her have already been looking at all of that. So we've got quite a lot of information about the work and projects in progress. So that's been really amazing to start to understand the work that Sam is doing. But Amy, Sam, and Jenny are taking a look at all of that. And then for the service area inventory and embedded support, this is an experienced person. I'm kind of excited about this because this is a person who worked for me in a former job that I had, Holly Swan. She has worked for BTS in the past, so she is familiar with this kind of work. She will be filling this role for this team. And that person reports to Jenny, and then tech support is under Amy Davis, and we'll kind of mingle in with that product and program support. I don't want to go too fast. I want to see if there's any questions about that before we go to the next slide.
It looks like
Shauna, I do.
Patrick has
Mhm.
Hey, Shauna, I'm just curious if you know already, you may not. How many staff are on the project and program management team?
Yeah, I can tell you that. It is a really small team. Let me glance at my org chart here. There's 5 people plus the leader of the team. So it's 6 people total. That's including that tech support person, Topher, that will blend in. So it is a small team. Right now, we're bringing in the existing projects from Fleet, FPDR, and the city attorney's office as kind of our anchor projects. So we are not committing beyond what the team is bringing over with them initially. And I can talk about that a little bit more on the next slide, kind of how we're stepping into that transition. But those are the people coming over and the work that they are bringing over, because it is a small team.
This is a tougher question. It might be Elise, but it's been a ton of work for you all to get to here. It's a really good plan. But what happens, let's say that you find one of these teams is just under supported. When do you get an opportunity to add to that team, or do you get an opportunity? How would that work?
Yeah, that's a great question. Shauna, do you want to take a stab at that, or would you like me to?
Why don't you go ahead and start?
Okay.
I mean, we've both been in those conversations.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks for that, Patrick. So I would answer that in a couple of different ways. And you're absolutely right that we designed the very best we could on paper with a lot of data and discovery. And we know we don't know what we don't know. And so initially, what we'd be looking at, and we're doing this bureau-wide, we're doing a bureau-wide focus on the concept of visibility. So let's make sure our work intake processes are aligned. So we have a single place that requests are coming in so we can get a sense of volume and distribution. Let's do that with incident, which means when something is broken, let's make sure everybody knows how to report that so we can quickly get attention on it. And then let's get our inventory in place. What I would first be looking at in terms of if this team is under-resourced or if we have like a surge need because we're in the middle of a data platform project, for example, I'd be looking at what's the duration of that need? Is this an ongoing need or is this a one-time need? Can the enterprise core folks help out? Or can folks from another service area, because these same teams with these same skill sets exist on each service area team. So the hope is, Sam is one of a cohort on the COSA team that's learning each other's work and providing backup. But there are people with skill sets both on other service area teams and in the core. And then if we are blanket under-resourced, then we've been working with our Deputy City Administrator, Tracy Warren, to try to make clear to Council and the City Administrator that we've done the best we can. And if we do have emergent needs, then we'll partner with folks like Sam Hutchinson and our leadership to put a package together to request more resources and try to be better about pairing those with the outcomes that are at risk if we don't get them. But first, our intention is to use some built-in backup skill sets and to try to understand whether that's a surge need or an ongoing need. Does that make sense?
It does. Thanks, Elise.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you, Shauna.
No, and
Great
it
question.
reminds me, I should add another thing I didn't put on this slide because it's not part of our embedded team, but we've added a new team in the core BTS group, which is the City Operations Applications team. And that's never existed before per se. And we've had this pre-existing vertical applications model where we've had like public works embedded people that support all these different apps. And we've had public safety people, and we've never had dedicated city operations people. So we have a small set of kind of like cohorts that are advanced technical specialists that will be in the core that this team can also lean on and look as a little bit of an additional resource. So this matrix model of organization we have gives this small team a bunch of cohorts across our organization, plus that extra small team there to add kind of technical expertise to this group, and also ability to do some kind of that complex back end work for us as new projects come up. So that's some of the work we'll be exploring this year, is like, how can we use that to increase our capability as we learn a lot more about the work that we have to do moving forward. So I think, we, like Elise said, we have a lot to learn and we're aware of that. But we also have done some creative things with our org chart to expand our resources by repurposing the resources that we have. So I'm kind of excited to see how that works for us. Let's go to the next slide. So here's how we're going to step into transition. And of course, right now through what's coming very quickly for us, August 3, we've been working on this active transition planning. Jenny and Amy, and before we hired Jenny, I was in that role, or meeting with the individual staff and really preparing for this August 4 move where people are going to move over to BTS officially. We also sent out citywide to people who are moving, who we're talking about as a work tracker to help BTS better understand what the service needs are and the criticalities for the service area from the individual worker's perspective. Help us understand the incoming work that each team member was bringing with them, so that that Jenny and Amy know what to follow up with on one-on-ones. It helps us identify what cross-training we need to do, where we could potentially automate, do other support improvements, and also maybe figure out where we might not have some resource capacity initially, so we can have some conversations about it. Like I mentioned earlier, Sam was phenomenal. I think she had the most rows on her work tracker because she's very detailed. So we got exceptional data from her, and that really helps in our conversations. As we move into August 4, realigned staff are going to move into the new team. But I want to be really clear, that doesn't mean there will be a drastic change. And what we're telling people is keep doing what you're doing today on August 4. We are going to have a gentle, gradual transition. The most important thing is don't break anything and let us learn, right? Because we are going into this understanding we don't know everything and we have a lot to learn. So we're going to take the time to understand and to understand what's priority, what's criticality, like what's mandated, all of those sort of things, and make sure that we're addressing those things first and establishing the priorities and really putting our resources to the most important things first, maintaining continuity on projects in flight, completing those successfully, and that we're taking this first 6 months to establish clear process, communication. My boss, Melissa Foley, the DCIO, is leading a unified intake process, which is going to help us across all these teams have a single way to do intake so that it will be clear to all of our bureau partners, like how do you request work? How can you tell your work in progress? All of that. So these are things we'll be focusing on initially, but we want to do it in a thoughtful, measured way. Again, not to break things, to really respect the projects in flight and to learn what we can learn from the people coming onto the team and from you, our stakeholders, our bureau partners. So that's really important to us. Any questions about that before I move forward? Great, let's go to the next slide. So here's Jenny put this slide together, so I'm going to do my best to do it justice. Jenny has some plans about how we're going to support you and do future road mapping. So one of her intentions is to set up stakeholder monthly meetings. These are going to be important in the service area to share progress, to help surface risk. You know, what risks are you seeing? What risks are the team seeing? And to stay aligned on what are the priorities across the programs. We have a business relationship manager assigned to each service area. Your BRM is Connor Anderson, and so he meets regularly, and so she will stay coordinated, her and Amy Davis both, with the BRM on what's in process and what are the project requests that have come in. And that includes like new technology requests, that sort of thing. There'll be coordination with the other embedded teams, again, on what's our common intake, what's our communication process. Are we figuring out how to manage prioritizations, that sort of thing. We've set some embedded support team 6 to 9 month goals. One of them is to have a project inventory. We want to identify and document all the current projects. We want to fully assess what are the current support levels for every bureau and office and do a good initial gap analysis. What are the current service levels and how can we compare them to our target goals so that we can really talk about identified areas for improvement? How can we allocate our resources? Again, right, we know with a small team, there could be some real challenges there. So we want to be able to have some conversations about what are the priorities versus the resources. What do we need to talk about there? And then to determine service levels across the service area. And also we want to maintain continuity. So specifically for FPDR, the projects that they've identified already in process that we're committed to continuity on are FPDR request 411, which is the Wells Fargo work phase 2. And that's the security.net upgrade. And then request 595, which is the database replacement. So those are the 2 projects that they have already identified as a continuity commitment for this work. And there'll be additional opportunities to communicate with Jenny and Amy about additional concerns in those areas. So hopefully that sounds good to everyone. Next slide.
Which is also our last slide. Thank you for your for remaining conscious.
Thanks for hanging in there with us. Yeah, so this is our last slide, and this is just how to contact us, right? Because it's one thing to say that we have service, but you need to know how to get a hold of us. So general technology support, that method isn't changing, but not everyone has a city email. And I don't know if you knew this, but you can still call the service desk to get a hold of us. I do want you to have both Jenny and my direct email so that you can always escalate anytime this doesn't feel like it is going well for you. Like, realignment is not meeting our needs. Please reach out because we really do want to talk about that. Also, contact information for the business relationship manager. And then we believe that we'll be continuing to have a cadence that we've been calling customer forums, and those have been happening at the service area level with city leadership. Elise usually attends those, but when she's out, Melissa Foley, our DCIO, does attend those. So, and I'm usually there too, but that's an executive level customer forum that's really important. So that's where we can talk about things like service level agreements, and just how is core services realignment meeting the needs of the service area. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Elise, and thanks, Shauna. Any questions? Oh, Jared has his hand raised. Go ahead, Jared.
I think I'm tracking with the PowerPoint and I appreciate the presentation. And so Sam Clark, the BSA, is still with FPDR until August. And I guess the issues, if there's any issues that would come up to the board here as the database replacement carries forward, right? Right now it's in the December consultation phase 1, right? And then those things with that team, it sounds like it's going to be a small team that's going to be assisting with the database replacement. And so then I guess the issues right now are kind of unknown, or their potential problem or weight are unknown. Am I understanding that correctly? I guess that's my question. So
let me try to say back the question so I make sure we're answering the right one. So I think what I hear you saying is, the the issues that would come up to the board level might be bigger issues around the project, the replacement project, for example, or something else. And the sort of overlay of the project and the new organizational structure, any sort of issues with that overlay are still unknown. And is that your question?
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. Just kind of wait. It's kind of TBD. You guys there's a reorganization and
Yes.
restructure. And so the impact of losing Sam Clark and that continuity it's kind of unknown at this point, right? This is.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly understand why it would feel like losing Sam Clark, because that position is coming out of FPDR and moving to another team. I think another way to look at it is Sam now has a cohort of people. She's an army of more than one who are paying attention to FPDR. And so I think there's maybe some work that we can do with Sam Hutchinson and Stacy to understand what sort of reporting expectations the board might have. So we're meeting those. But Sam is, somebody else is going to sign Sam's timesheet, but for at least the first 90 to 6 months, 90 days to 6 months, it's Sam, keep doing what you're doing, but write it down, and somebody might sit along with you, just like you might sit along with them. So if you go on vacation, the work doesn't stop. If they go on vacation, the work doesn't stop. And we're starting to put it in more of a knowledge base that others in BTS can provide some support for. Does that make sense?
Thank you. Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Follow up on that a little bit here is that Sam Clark is not being stripped out of FPDR, taken and long gone. It will be, as you heard, a transition. She'll continue to do a lot of the work for us, and we'll transition. It will be a coordinated transition that we as the FPDR management will be on, making sure that the projects get worked on, that Sam's role is clarified. If somebody else's, their role is there. So I'm not worried about her. I initially was, I'll be honest with you, but I'm more feeling more that's not going to be a tear away out of us. We will have certain things that we have been, agreed to. I think we talked about, there's one or two other little projects that we've gotten some agreement that she'll stay on, but then as we move down the road, which projects will she stay on? Which ones can we bring somebody else in to look at? So I'm not worried about this being a just cold rip the Band-Aid off and deal with it after that. So I'm feeling good about that. Because I've been pushing
Thanks, Sam.
stuff to Elise and to Shauna and to Jenny about, hey, this is what FPDR is about. Here's what we're doing. Here's what we need to have done. So they've heard my message ad nauseum. It's good. They also hear from Sam Clark from the bottom up. Here's everything that is being done for FPDR. We're going to need to look at ways for those tasks to continue. And Sam's task list was about 150 tasks long that she submitted. So I think she far exceeded number 2 as far as things coming in. So they've got a lot of information about what's happening in FPDR, what we're going to need going forward, and we'll have to come up with some agreements how that will be done. But again, this is not going to be just a cold rip everything out and us fend for ourselves.
Yeah, and I'd like to reiterate, one thing Elise said, what I think is so wonderful about this opportunity is we can add to Sam as adding more people that can learn about FPDR. So it doesn't need to be just Sam, like before it was Julie Chris, but you can have additional people that Sam can train. So if she does want to take a 3-week vacation to Europe or whatever, that's fine. We'll have someone else, we'll have her documentation, we'll have cross-trained, and we can maintain that continuity. We don't have to kind of stop a project for a while. So I think, that's going to be a long-term benefit of this effort. So we'll build the team up so that they'll be able to start to do that sort of work. And that's kind of the direction we're heading, is to eventually get you more resources in the long run, not to take Sam away, but to build up a broader base that can support you, which I think will be a great benefit. But you're right, Sam, we are not ripping her away. So.
And Jared, I can make a comment because I had 2 years ago, maybe 3 now, did a similar database change in my division. And what the board will see after a vendor is picked, then the board is going to hear about BTS has Sam working with the BTS project management team with their BRM. The vendor will have a project management team. Those groups are putting everything together on the nuts and bolts and I had one BSA, so I'm kind of like locked in, right? If Sam has the ability to be the lead BSA working for the core team for our new database at FPDR and is supported by others on our team, I think we'll find that's a really big value add down the road. Because when I have my BSA out, we're kind of like, I hope nothing goes wrong this week. But there'll be a lot of teams underneath, so it's not just Sam alone trying to figure out how to do this, the whole implementation part. So, and I would imagine Elise and Shauna, it's still kind of the same theory on an implementation.
Yeah,
So,
we'd pull a project team together, just like you articulated. And, we're doing some culture work actually in BTS and with partners as well about, let's stop thinking of these as projects, frankly, because they really are ongoing. They need ongoing care and feeding. You have adopted a puppy, you still have to feed it when all of the, when you're done with the training. So there's also that you'll see that the name of the team Sam is on is product and program support. And the intention behind that is not just implement it, but take care of it, make sure that it's continuing to meet the needs of FPDNR as the needs of FPDNR change. So we don't have to keep, spending gobs of money every 7 years to replace something, but we can be taking care of it during its life cycle, and maybe it's still relevant 7 years from now because we've been updating it and augmenting it and patching it and all of that. So that's some broader work we're also doing with ourselves and with others.
any other questions, comments? Good presentation. Thank you too.
Thank you all. Julie's got it, so whatever your records process is, but you'll have our contact information. Really appreciate you all spending some time with us. Thanks for the invite.
Great. Thanks so much.
Thanks for what you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Elise.
Thank you.
Okay. The database replacement update.
Okay, so we gotta try to keep this targeted out here at 2 o'clock. So I'm going to go through some stuff a little bit quickly. So the database replacement update, I'll do very high level today because in September, I want a more detailed level where you may hear from Sam Clark or Tiffany, the people who are running some of these projects, just to tell you more of what's happening and what they're doing. So for the database update, if you remember the presentation I gave last week, you've got sort of the short-term presentation, which is basically the Wells Fargo project. You heard Elise mention that. Phase 1 of that project was to get the firewall upgraded. That was completed. We're now in phase 2, which is upgrading the .NET framework to a secure platform that is supported by Microsoft. We're on track for that. With the completion at the end of August. They're doing some UAT testing at this point. A couple of things have been found, and so there are 1 or 2 little persnickety, so they're working them back and forth to find a solution on those. I still think the end of August deadline is there. No problem. Then phase 3, which is the actual interface between Wells Fargo and FPDR, will pick up when that's over. And I'm going to say that Sam Clark will be responsible for that. It's just a continuation of this Wells Fargo project. It's expected to start in September and completed in December. And again, when we come in next board meeting, we'll give you some more details, especially on phase 3, what's happening there. The database replacement itself, we're on phase 1 of the requirements. So we have Tiffany Portman. She is the contract BSA who's leading the project with Sam Clark assisting. They've been working closely. The first step is to get current state well documented, and then they'll move on to looking at what's the future state and then some requirements that we're going to need to get to that future state. So the disability team has been working a lot of workshops. We're close to completion with that. We've been looking at a lot of reports that come out of our database for disability reports. Didn't know there were so many, and so everybody's talking about which ones do we need and why they're important. The pension current state workshops will start here in the next couple of weeks, so they'll go through the same thing. And then after the present state is done, they'll work on the future state and the requirements. Do want to say thank you to all, especially for the disability people at this point, for the time they've dedicated away from their work to get these requirements, or not the requirements, but the processes documented. I've talked to several of them. They're excited to do this work, even though it's a little painful because of the amount of time it takes away from their desk, because they can see, hey, this is going to get us a better system in the future. They really see a solid reason for doing it, so they're excited about getting there. Expected completion of this entire phase one is at the end of December. There are a couple risks here. The workshops require a lot of staff time, which I just said, and sometimes a little more than we'd initially anticipated. Again, it's not affected their work so far. I'm certain their signs have gotten behind, but overall it has not had a major impact on their work. The documentation of all these workshops is done by Tiffany. It's a lot of work. It's more than anticipated. Again, that's just, we have a lot of work that we do here in documenting it. Identifying and documenting, it's all a tremendous amount of work. There may be a small possibility that the schedule won't be completed. The idea was, again, completed in December. It might have to get pushed into January. We're keeping a close eye on that. And that at this point is just a hypothetical issue that may come out. We have not committed to extending beyond December. And again, next month, we'll have more feeling on these risks. So when they are the next board meeting in September, they go into more detail on that and to where they are. So again, it's a lot of work on it, and I thank all the staff for spending their time doing it. So any questions on those two projects at this point? Okay. Just jump into all the FPDR updates. Well, one, I'm retiring. I think you all got the voice or the email on that. So my last day will be October 30th, about 3 months from now. So it's been an exciting time to work here for 13 years, different from a private sector, which is very positive. Again, you can focus on doing what is the right thing without a little bit of a profit mindset in the back of your head, trying to drive you to different directions that you would prefer not to go. Everybody's been very supportive. The staff, as you all, as a board, been very supportive of FPDR and to me. I've enjoyed working with everybody. I always have this funny thing about how the board has evolved over time. About 13 years ago, board members fell asleep during the board meetings. Which is like, and we didn't have the Tom Kramers of the world who read everything in super detail with it. Some of them, I don't even ever think they read the material even after the meeting. So it's been a big shift in the board. It's been exciting to see the board over time become more excited, more involved, asking us the tough questions, which is their job and our job to answer those. So that's great to have it. So you'll see me in the September board meeting. I'll go over here in a little bit of what that will be. So hiring my replacement, that will be headed up by the Assistant City Administrator, Tracy Warren. She's the one I report to. She's head of the operations service area, which you heard a lot about, talked about then. I expect that the position to be posted soon. I would hope they could have a director in by the time I leave. Don't know. So I don't know the details of the posting, and I will be maybe consulted, but I won't be coordinating or be part of the process. So maybe an interviewer with it. Tracy said she would reach out to you all to let you know what's happening and get your input on what's happening on how to select a new director. And my role in training the new director hasn't been determined, and depending upon, because I don't have a desire to be a rehire and coming back for 2 to 3 months after my retirement to train the new person. So I'll just put that there, but I will be available to provide some information. To help with the transition, I've got 13 years of electronic and paper documents and stuff that I'm going through and figuring out what do I need to keep and what I do not need to keep. Well, that's, I will keep the stuff that I think they may need in the future. I have stuff that goes clear back to 1990, that charter change. And I keep those because we just had last week trying to look through the 1990 charter change to see what was happening. So I keep that kind of stuff here, and I'll leave that for the new director. Also draft a training outline listing everything that they should be trained on. So that's what we're looking here on the transition plan. More on that as it comes through. Again, I won't be running the hiring, so I'm hoping Tracy will keep you up to date. Transition, I'll share with you more of what I'm doing as we go through with it, just so you can be involved. And if you all, just this open invitation, think there's anything that we should be training the new director on, or information that they should know, send me an email here, because if I asked a whole lot of people, I'm going to be compiling that list and trying to move it into a training plan. Let's see. The next big thing is the Tom Kramer Citizen Trustee position expires December 31, 2026. Per request from the City Council and the City Administrator Raymond Lee, we are posting the position on the city's job portal. There are some questions about that came from council with it, so we've agreed to do that. And in order to hit all the timelines for council and to end up making the final approval of the position, we need to start the post it. We'll post it at the end of August. We'll keep it open for 30 days. We're targeting for interviews the first week in October. Recommendation to the city administrator and deputy city administrator by mid-October. And then we have to present it to the public service or the public safety city council committee in November, and then get it into the council for approval in December. It's a tight timeline because I think one of the last times we posted this position was open for 45 days and nobody applied. So keeping our fingers crossed that we'll have it, and maybe perhaps Tom will be interested in reapply for the position here and do that. So that's where we are on the system. I'll keep you updated and let you know, share you with the postings as this stuff moves ahead. Any questions on that? Okay, next board meeting, September 22nd. We will be proposing some administrative rules, nothing major. One will be the definition of attending physician. They changed it in the state workers' comp, and we like to keep our definition matching theirs, so it eliminates a lot of confusion among medical providers. We do need to do a little housekeeping. We have a part of our rules that tell us when and where the board can meet. Well, we can't meet in the council chambers anymore, and the time we see we've had moved to 12:30. So we're going to make a change that so it's a little more flexible and not so rigid in what we're doing. And the last one is a real short 3-word language clarification. So BHR has asked us to remove 3 words from one little definition in a rule, and we'll go into that why. One is just because that term is used in multiple different leave programs, and it gets confusing. So we'll share that. It's just a real technical thing. I'll also go over the transition plan for, from what I'm looking to do. If I know more about the position posting, I'll let you know, but also what I'm looking to do is how I would get the stuff ready for the new director. We'll do, as I said before, more detailed updates on the requirements phase of the disability replacement project and looking at the Wells Fargo project. And then maybe put a placeholder for a budget update if Stacy's ready. I don't know if it'll be at that point. And one thing we were nice to, at least just by not grilling her on the budget and how they're going to charge us yet, because I think that has not been decided how that's going to work. So as that process of the interagency agreement is developed and the actual agreement is developed, we'll share it with you. And it will take some time for that to happen. Okay, we are delaying the state of FPDR to November. We typically do it in December. Right now, the FPDR staff and Sam Clark are heavily involved in the requirements gathering effort. They just don't have the time to give us that we need to create those slide presentations. And because Sam helps run most of the reports, the staff provides a lot of input also. And we just will hold off until November until some of the work on these projects slows down. So that's everything I've got at this point. Any questions? I moved through this last part pretty fast, so please ask any questions.
Hey, congratulations, Sam.
No, thank you.
Yeah, it's not gonna be the same.
Sam, your comment about the posting of the position reminds me gives me a chance to say that the questioning, if I can even call it that, that Catherine got at her reappointment, I thought was appalling. And I've sort of imagined if I were to be in that meeting, being nowhere near as polite and responsive as Catherine was.
Part of the reason why we're
Great to see
posting it
that.
is yeah, part of the reason why we're posting this is to alleviate some of the complaints. And I will have the chance to pre-sell this on before we do this stuff. That's why we have with that public safety committee from the council. So the intent is not to allow it to get to that road with it. And unfortunately, some of what that came out was from one individual. And he needs to set the tone, and I think some of the council caught themselves and backed off real quick at what they're saying, but I agree totally. And that was voiced up through various channels back to the council.
Well, Trustee Kramer, I hope this means that you're looking to continue service, because I too have enjoyed all of the careful reading and comments that I've heard from you.
Well, thank you. I figure when you and Sam scraped the bottom of the barrel, I couldn't say no.
And Tom, I'll just repeat the comment that I hear from my staff all the time is going, okay, we got to get prepared for Tom is going to ask us.
No, Trustee
We
Kramer,
know.
I love it. I mean, genuinely love it. Like, there's nothing more exciting for someone who's super in like nerdy wonky things than to have somebody actually ask you questions about those nerdy wonky things. And actually, I think all the trustees do a tremendous job of reading through things and asking questions. And I don't know if I'm allowed to have an opinion, but I sure hope you come back, Trustee Kramer. We'll do what we can to protect you from unreasonable levels of questioning. Ugh.
Now I'm trying to keep up with Jared.
Trustee Laws has come on strong. He really is.
Yes.
But we all knew that because he used to be our liaison. We were maybe more prepared for it at the staff level than you were at the floor.
Yeah.
I may have been pre-prepared by being the liaison. That's I got a little bit of a head start. So
Yeah.
I was curious on changing the subject about the retirements in May. The last meeting was in May, and
Oh,
yeah, just
I'm
kind
like,
of curious.
oh, that's right. I never told you guys exactly how it wound up. I just sort of
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. And now of course it's been, let me just talk
Sorry
about
to put you on the
something else
spot
for
at the
a
very
hot
end
minute
here.
while there was a time when I absolutely had this in my head every single day. So give me just a second to pull up the reporting. We wound up with, let's see, do it this way. Okay, we wound up with a total of 83 retirements, 38 fire and 45 police. So fire was overrepresented in the retirement numbers, as you know, in terms of this relative size of the two bureaus. The vast majority of those fire retirees were rehires. So that's also kind of an interesting element. But anyway, 83 total, 38 fire, 45 police. And then in addition, we had 6 separations, people who chose to separate in the 27 paid 8 month, 3 at fire and 3 at police. So definitely our second biggest retirement month ever, as I told you guys all it would be, because previously our second biggest month, there were 72. You know, like I said, I don't think anything's ever going to beat August of 2020. I was 108 retirements, I want to say, in August of 2020. But it was a really crazy month. It went very smoothly. And thanks again to the liaisons who actually wound up helping us out quite a bit with retirements, to everyone on my team who was involved in this, which is pretty much everybody, as well as some of Kim's disability analysts that kind of sucked in the whole office, but most especially to Beth Hutton, who, you know, trustee laws, and it's just 1 in a million. And we literally, I don't know what we would do without her. She can never leave or retire herself.
Yes, you guys do a great job of taking care of everybody. So I guess yeah, thank you and congratulations to any of the retirees that are watching, and thank you for your many decades of service. And Sam, congratulations to you as well. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, well, I guess we're wrapping up then. And we'll see you September 22nd.
Yep.
Okay, thanks, everybody.
Right.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.